echoes of the silent code. I still remember the day they laughed at me. It was as if the walls of our home reverberated with their derision, a cacophony of disbelief that shattered my dreams into a million irretrievable pieces. Acoustic ecology? My father scoffed, shaking his head as if I'd suggested I was going to fly to the moon. You're an embarrassment, Laura. Stop chasing wild superstitions and get a real job. I stood there, a lump in my throat, stifling the urge to scream. I had been publicly dismissed by my research institution for advocating a study on bioacoustics in endangered species. My colleagues, my mentors, everyone I respected had turned their backs on me. Yet here was my family, the very people who should have supported me, mocking my passion, belittling my dreams. I felt like a ghost haunting my own life, invisible and unheard. But that day marked a turning point. Fueled by their scorn, I vowed to prove them wrong. I packed my things, leaving behind the echoes of their laughter, and set off on a solitary journey towards a future I could only begin to imagine. I poured my heart into designing devices that captured and interpreted animal communication. While the world ridiculed me, I toiled day and night, driven by a relentless pursuit of a dream that felt impossibly distant. The first few months were grueling. I was met with skepticism everywhere I turned. "You'll never make it," they said. "This is just a phase." But each dismissal only ignited my determination. I spent countless hours experimenting in my garage, surrounded by wires, sensors, and a relentless hum of hope. I was alone, yes, but I was not defeated. Then, out of the darkness, a breakthrough emerged. I developed a prototype of a device that could not only capture the sounds of endangered species, but also translate them into data that could inform conservation efforts. It was revolutionary. It was everything I had hoped for. I shared my findings, and slowly the tides began to turn. My work caught the attention of environmental organizations, researchers, and conservationists. They saw the potential in my vision. And suddenly, I was not the laughingstock. I was a pioneer. Fast forward a few years, and I found myself standing on the precipice of success. My company had transformed barren lands into thriving ecosystems, using the very devices my family had mocked. We were restoring habitats, saving species on the brink of extinction, and making headlines across the globe. I had gone from being the family embarrassment to a beacon of innovation in acoustic ecology and conservation technology. But despite my growing success, a part of me longed for acceptance from my family. I decided it was time to return home, not just as a successful bioacoustic ecologist, but as someone who had risen from the ashes of their ridicule. As I drove through the familiar streets, nostalgia washed over me. Would they see the change in me? Would they finally understand? When I arrived at my childhood home, the air felt thick with unspoken words. My mother answered the door, her eyes widening in disbelief. "Laura, is that really you?" I felt a strange mix of pride and vulnerability as I stepped inside. My family gathered around, their faces a mosaic of shock and curiosity. I could see the questions swirling in their minds, and I took a deep breath, ready to share my journey. I showed them videos of my devices in action, capturing the symphony of nature, the songs of birds, the whispers of the wind, the calls of endangered species. I narrated the stories of success, the habitats restored, the lives saved. Then came the moment I had anticipated, the moment of reckoning. I shared the transformative project that had recently gained international acclaim, the rebirth of a once desolate land into a thriving sanctuary filled with wildlife. "This," I said, my voice breaking slightly, "is what I've dedicated my life to." Silence enveloped the room, thick and heavy. My father's eyes glistened with unshed tears, a mix of pride and regret etched on his features. The weight of their past derision hung like a specter in the air. I didn't believe in you, he finally admitted, his voice trembling. I thought you were chasing ghosts. In that moment, I felt a surge of empathy wash over me. I understood that their laughter had stemmed from fear of the unknown and fear of failure. I wanted to prove that dreams aren't ridiculous, I said softly. They're just waiting for someone to chase them. As the evening unfolded, something extraordinary happened. The laughter that once echoed with scorn transformed into a chorus of admiration. They began to ask questions, eager to learn about my work, the world of bioacoustics, and the beauty of the ecosystems I had fought so hard to protect. Their hearts shifted, and in that transformation, I felt a profound sense of healing. I left that night with more than just the validation I had craved. I had opened a door to understanding, not just for me, but for my family as well. They had witnessed firsthand the consequences of their past derision. While they may have doubted me, I had turned that doubt into a force for good. As I drove away, I couldn't help but smile. I had proven my worth not just to them, but to myself. I was no longer just the girl who chased wild superstitions. I was Laura, a bioacoustic ecologist who had transformed the world in ways they could never have imagined. And as I looked out at the sprawling landscapes alive with the sounds of nature, I realized that the echoes of the silent code, those whispers of the earth, had finally found their voice. And so had I.